finally got my new prop. Here's the explanation for the new prop. The old prop had no zinc on it, and because of the nut that was on it, which was just a normal prop nut, that means it never actually did have a zinc. This is the prop nut for this. My other boat, Wandering Dolphin, had a max prop, so I really wasn't very familiar with how the zincs work on these things. But apparently this is the nut that goes at the end of the prop for the zinc, and it never had one. So when I took the prop off and I took it to the Olympic Propeller shop, which is great, by the way, if you're in this area, they were really great. They were going to polish it up for me, make it like new, and it was all pink. As soon as they started doing it, the whole prop was pink, and that means it was corroded all the way through, pretty much. Not even good enough for a spare anymore. They said it wouldn't have been very long when I'd have been motoring across the Pacific occasionally, which of course I don't motor, but I do sail with the prop turning for regen. They said it would have, one of those blades would have just broke off at any time. It was really bad. And you know, you couldn't tell looking at it from before. It just looked like it had a lot of growth on it and stuff, and you know, and it had that bronze patina on the outside, so it wasn't until you started getting into it that you could tell that it was just corroded all the way through. So I got a new prop. The other thing that they did for me is they cleaned up my old shaft, so it's like new now, and they tested it, of course. And then I bought my new packing gland, which is a flax packing gland, so if something happens, I can put flax in it. If the flax goes bad, I've got extra. But even if I didn't have any of that, I could shove something else in there and stop the leak and wouldn't sink the boat. So after what happened to me last time, that's it's a good thing. Oh, this is the nut that was on it before. So obviously, you know, they never had a zinc on here. The interesting thing is this packing gland came with these. They're stainless, but they're not the, you know, the good hose clamps, so I replaced them with the good ones. The other thing that, of course, I'll show you is the Sigma drive. Love that Sigma drive. It's really cool. So Norman has already put one on his boat, so he's ahead of me, and it worked great for him. Then for my zinc, my shaft zinc, I got this, and it cost me about twice as much as the normal zinc, but it has the cutter blade on it. Unfortunately, you can't attach the cutter blade to the new zinc. You have to just buy a new zinc with a cutter blade, but they're not that much more. It was about twice as much for a zinc, so I think that's worth the money. And it's of course a lot cheaper than buying one of those line cutters and attaching them permanently to the prop shaft. So I think that was a good compromise on that. So today I'm putting the prop in the boat, putting the shaft in the boat, and I'm going to start the process of hooking all this stuff up. It's going to take me a while. Well, probably today and tomorrow. And then I can mount my engine permanently, my motor permanently. I guess people get upset when I call it an engine. People get upset over nothing. Anyway, I'm going to hook my electric motor up to this, but I haven't actually bolted down the motor yet because I wanted to make sure that I had enough room for everything, especially since I'm adding this zinc on the end, which is going to give me a little extra length. So Norman had to cut his prop shaft down 1 1/8 inches, I think he said, and I'm hoping I don't have to do that, but we'll see. All right, so I had to bring the prop shaft through from forward because, well, obvious reasons. So hopefully I can get it the rest of the way here. I'm not sure if I can. I may have to actually move the motor out in order to get the prop shaft in, because see, it wouldn't go underneath because of the battery box out there. So, and I didn't have the motor in here when we took the shaft out. So let's see what happens. Wish I had a GoPro. It would have helped with this a lot, this filming part, because then I could just keep it hooked up to me while I do this stuff. But I only have to go just a little bit, but it's already almost all the way in there, so I don't know. I'll give it a try. Good thing I didn't bolt the motor down, because I actually had to move it way back to get the shaft down in here. So if I'd have bolted the motor, it would have been a pain. I would have had to unbolt it all. So thank you, Norman, for the, well, you didn't really give me advice on that, but you did it first. And so I learned from you and what you're doing. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much for, again, being the guinea pig so that I don't have to make the same difficult decisions. Okay, so let's see if I can get this shaft down in here now. Put it through. Shouldn't be too difficult. Oh, see, motor's still not letting it go in straight. So, okay. There she goes. All right, she's through. Right on. Okay. Now let's see. Next step is to, I guess, put the prop on and all that stuff, and then I can adjust my motor and then mount my motor once this is all set up. So I think I'm about to see why they didn't have a zinc on the end of the prop. I think there's not going to be enough room, but it's almost to the taper already. Oh crap. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens here. Okay, so here's the prop. Huh, okay. I may have to go do a little research here. Okay, so I have the prop all tightened down here. I should have shown that. I used this board up underneath the prop so I could turn it and tighten it down. And now I'm removing the screw, Allen screw or bolt that will hold the zinc on, and then I'm going to see how much space I have, because as you notice right now it's so far up that it wouldn't even turn, the prop wouldn't even turn. So we'll see how much clearance I have once I put that zinc on there, and that'll determine how much play I'm going to have here in order to put a zinc on the shaft. I don't think my cutter zincs are going to work. I think I'm going to have to trim down a normal zinc just to fit in there, but we'll see. I'd leave this up and running, but man, I don't have a GoPro, so I can't work and hold this big camera. So I'll just show you what it looks like when I'm finished with this. So I'm removing this right now, and then I'll put the zinc on and I'll turn it back on and show you what it looks like when this is on there and my clearance and whatnot. So our clearance is very close, but I think that it's enough that we're okay. No problem with the rudder turn, No problem up here with the clearance of the prop, you know, as it comes around up here. So I think we're all right. I think it's gonna work. Looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm using traditional flax packing, although this GTU stuff is graphite, which runs cooler, lower friction, longer run time. It also reduces the number of drips you have to worry about in the, you know, a flax packing has to drip a little bit. So you take this flax and then you lay it out, figure out your diameter. You figure out your diameter that you want your, well, that your packing gland is. And then you cut it, and you cut the flax at, it has to go down in here, and this is a 1/4. So you cut it at an angle right here, like that, like I cut this one. And then the next one, you figure out your distance around there, and you cut it at the opposite angle. So you end up with one that looks like this and meets together like this. So they come together like that. And then you put them in your packing gland, like so. And I just called them because that seems like there's an awful lot of extra space in there. And I thought if I put 2 in here and put the crack on one, whoops, I figured if I put 2 in there and the crease that joins is on this side on this one, and then I do another one on this side, right here, and then they meet together there. It just gives me extra. And I called the prop place and asked them, and they said, nah, it doesn't hurt to have 2 in there. So this is what it's like in the end. And then I'll now go and install this on my new packing gland that I put in there and tighten it down. And I won't be able to test it till it goes in the water in a few months, but that should be good to go. So here's my new traditional stuffing box. Yeah, that's, you know, I'm sure I'll get some comments on that. I know lots of people, most people nowadays, trust and rely on a dripless seal. And that's what this one had in it before. Wandering Dolphin also originally had a packing gland like this. And it dripped a little bit. And Wandering Dolphin was aluminum. And we didn't want any seawater in the boat. So we changed to a dripless seal. And to be fair, I never had an issue with it at all. I sailed offshore a long ways with that dripless seal, and I never had an issue. But when I bought MIG, the dripless seal almost sank us. And so I'm a little bit gun shy now. The nice thing about a packing gland is if it goes out, if it starts to drip, I can shove more flax in there. Another, you know, I can take that off, put another bit in there and reseal it, or I could even shove a t-shirt in if I don't have any. Anything basically would at least slow the leak down so that it wouldn't sink the boat. So I'm gonna put up with a little bit of water in the bilge. It's supposed to drip every now and again as the shaft is turning, although with this new packing material it doesn't have to drip very often. So I'm not too worried about that. You know, I'm going to put a little bilge pump back here anyway. Again, not because it necessarily needs one, but because I sat back here with a kayak pump, pumping this area out for about 6 or 7 hours while we got into Eureka. So, I would just rather be able to flip on a switch and pump this out. And I've got the exhaust hole up above, so I can easily, from the old engine, so I can easily plumb up a little rear bilge pump back here and just have it pump out right there with a vented loop and whatnot. So that's my thought. That's what I'm going to do. So let me get this packing gland on here that I just did. So first I'm gonna slide this over right here. Maybe. Boy, it's tight now. There we go. Okay. There we go. It's actually such a simple thing. So that's the benefit to this over, you know, and the fact that you can repair it underway, you know, for me, it's just a little bit of peace of mind that I'm happy to deal with. So I'll hand tighten it there, not too tight. And then I'll have to adjust that when it's in the water. I'm going to loosen it back a little bit. And I'll get a packing tool, the wrench for a packing gland. And then, but that should be good to go right now. I should be able to put that in the water and have very little water coming in, if any at all. So my next step here, now that I have the prop on and the packing gland installed, is to put my Sigma drive, to adjust the engine to exactly where it needs to be, and then put the Sigma drive on the engine, the motor, and then I can hook up the shaft, and then I'll know exactly where my motor needs to be mounted, and I can mark those, and then I have to pull the whole thing apart and actually put my motor feet. I have to install them, and then I can put the motor in, install the whole thing, and I should be good to move, man. That's awesome. Okay. So there we go. That's today. I'm done today. Finished deal. All right. New prop, new zinc, new packing gland. Mig signing off for this week.
I'm in your warm embrace. Oh, I hope this feels